So firstly, I'm interviewing Mr. Rajesh Sehgal, a venture capitalist with more than 2 decades of experience, who is the current managing partner of Equanimity Investments, a company that primarily invests in startups and early stage businesses across global sectors. So my first question for you, Mr. Rajesh, is what market opportunity did you see when you decided to start Equanimity Investments? And what motivated you to take the risk of starting a company?
Right. Yeah, I think so. I started Equanimity in 2017,
Yeah,
and Equanimity invests in early stage companies. By the way, just to so there was some background. Since 2007, I've been investing in startup companies,
yeah,
so I kind of was very familiar with all of this. And I think by 2015, 2016, I was very sure about the sustainability of this huge opportunity of investing in early stage companies. So by 2016, I had decided to full time focus on investments in early stage companies like a angel investor or a venture capital firm, etc.
yeah.
And in 2017, all those plans came together, and I set up Equanimity as a VC firm.
Okay, okay. So also, how did you decide the name Equanimity? Because it means calmness, obviously, but it's such a unique name. I was wondering how you got to that name.
Yeah, so I think so. I've been doing investments for nearly 25 years.
Yeah,
And one of the big and important things to do when you're investing money is to keep your cool because markets will keep going up, markets will keep going down. There'll be fluctuations. Some days you'll be, making a lot of money. Some days you will lose money, etc. But I think if you're a long-term investor like me, then you have to keep your cool, irrespective of what's happening in the external environment, in the external market. And that I think is a definition of equanimity, the dictionary definition of equanimity, that you keep your cool and calm regardless of what's happening around you. So
okay.
that's the reason for the name, and I kind of identify with that name. I like the name.
Yeah, it's a really good name as well. So also, so what was a defining moment in your career that you knew I'm going to be really successful at investing? I have this background. I'm going to be able to do better than a lot of other people in this industry.
Hmm. I don't think there's any one moment where you realize that you will be successful, etc. But I think there's a moment when you realize that you have to pursue what really matters most to you, what you really want to do for the rest of your life. Now, whether you're successful or not is very subjective. Different
Yeah.
people will define success in so many different ways and manner. But I think just being able to do what you love to do, to me, is kind of being successful. So that was the trigger. I said, okay, this is what I like to do. Let's do this full time.
Okay, that's really great. So, as an investor of primarily startups, how do you identify the companies with the best growth potential?
Yeah, that's a very tricky area. There are too many factors that go into selecting the right candidates and the right companies for the portfolio. Few of them are, for example, who are the founders of this company? What is their background? How good are they at executing the business plan that they are planning to do? Then it's also another factor which is very important is how big is that opportunity? So if you're trying to address, let's say, healthcare, or you're trying to address some consumer space, how big is that opportunity? How big can the company become? Right. For example, when Swiggy or Zomato started their business, they would have, there was nothing like that in the world, right?
Yeah.
In India, and they kind of understood that's a very large opportunity, and therefore when we are looking at companies today, startups today, we are trying to kind of do some kind of a crystal ball gazing to figure out how big can this opportunity become. So that's the second. And third is very importantly, how can we add value to the company? So it's a startup company,
Yeah.
there's nothing in place, everything is going to be new. They have to hire a team, they have to build the technology, they have to get customers, etc., etc. So how can we as a firm at Equanimity help these startups? So
Yeah.
I think these are the three most important things that we look at.
And obviously, investing in startups is also very risky as compared to already established companies. What was your thought process when deciding that your company would invest primarily in startups?
Yeah, that is true. It is the riskiest part of the equity investment landscape.
Yeah,
But I think in finance and investments, you have to remember that risk and return are two sides of the same coin.
yeah,
So if you take more risk, you should be rewarded by more returns. So that I think is a primary attraction that I have for this space. So if you can take risk, and if you know what risk you're taking, and if you know how to manage the risk that you're taking, then your returns are more or less secure. I mean, nothing is secure in the world, but it's kind of far better than just doing something blindly.
yeah. That's true. Even I have a background in that, so I can verify that. Also, over the years, you obviously have served and currently do serve on the board of directors for multiple companies. How do you feel that's allowed you to expand your horizons in finance, I guess?
Oh, it's very important. So when you are working with some companies, especially if you're on the board, then there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that board position. It is not just sitting there and telling them what to do. There's a lot to learn as well. And for us to any director on the board, for a director on the board to truly contribute to the growth of a company, you have to put in efforts to first understand the business of the company. You
Okay.
have to put in efforts to understand what are the capabilities within the company, what can be done, what can be achieved, what can't be achieved. And that is how you, as a director on the board, are able to help the company not only in terms of its growth and its business, but also in terms of governance, policies, systems, processes. A lot of these things also are responsibilities of the board.
Yeah,
And I think being on the boards of these companies allows you to help them in these areas, as well as when you're doing all of that, you learn from one company and you implement it everywhere else.
yeah. So, when you were starting a venture capital firm, obviously you need the financial backing to actually be able to invest. So, how did you get that backing?
Yeah. So as you know that before I started the VC firm, I was anyway being investing in
Yeah.
listed markets and other markets, and had a good circle of friends and colleagues and associates. So when I started the fund, I put in my money, and I got a lot of our friends and people who had been ex-colleagues to invest in the firm. So that
Oh,
was the kind of the beginning of the whole journey.
so you don't own 100% of the firm?
No, I own 100% of the firm,
Oh,
but you need money to invest, and the money that is invested is the fund's money, not the owner's money. It's
oh,
like a mutual fund. In a mutual fund, ICICI may manage the fund, but all the money is not ICICI's money. It's people like you, me, our fathers, our parents. We invest in ICICI mutual fund.
so you
So
take
it
the
is
money from your investors and you would invest it into
correct.
startups and give them returns as a result.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay, okay. So also, what's one strategy that you use during investing, your primary or your main strategy, which you feel has been the most successful for yourself? Is it investing in the entrepreneur or anything which you feel?
Yeah, you're right. Actually, so it is investing in the entrepreneur, and I think it's a good strategy which I think all of us try to follow. But what is important is that strategy has to result in the correct
Return.
structure,
Okay.
and the correct outcome has to come out. So a lot goes into figuring out who are the right kind of entrepreneurs that you want to back.
Oh, that's obviously really important. And if you could disclose this information, what have been some of your most successful investments?
Oh, quite a few actually. So one of them is a company that you would know of. It's a pharmacy chain called Wellness Forever.
Okay.
That
And
was one of our early investments. Then there's a company called Rene Cosmetics. It's an online plus offline cosmetic brand. They're
yeah,
doing very well.
I
Yeah.
saw on your
So
LinkedIn you had a lot of cosmetic companies, even software development companies.
correct. That is true. That is true. Yeah.
Yeah. And so finally, if you had any advice for young entrepreneurs with the goal of managing a business and getting into the field of venture capitalism, what would your advice be?
Yeah. I think that's why keep it simple. You have to be by your nature very inquisitive. If you're inquisitive enough, you will try to learn more about different business models, different industries, different stage of companies, and interact with a variety of promoters and founders of these companies. And I think as long as you are very intellectually inquisitive, like I said, there is so much to learn, and you'll keep learning, and that is how you become better and better.
Okay. Thanks a lot for your time, Mr. Rajesh. It's been great talking to you, and you've shared invaluable advice. Thank you so much.
Thanks.